What's going on, folks? Ted and Adora here for a little bit more of D&D news before I head out to PAX. We have the first quarter reports from Hasbro, the sales reports, which obviously encompasses Wizards of the Coast as one of the three segments. They call them segments. I've referred to them in the past as branches or arms of the company. If you're unfamiliar, Hasbro a couple years ago restructured to basically make Wizards of the Coast one of the three main segments of the company. So we'll talk about that, and again, I'm going to try and glance over where possible the sort of financial jargon. This is a sales report, so you're going to hear a lot of things like adjusted revenue here, foreign profits, margins, net revenue, things of that nature. If you don't really deal with finances regularly, it's probably not, it's all kind of just be gibberish to you. But I think there's a lot that we can focus on without having to dive too much into the specifics. That being said, 93.8K, so if you would like to subscribe to the channel and you haven't already, I would really appreciate it as it helps to get that number growing. Let's get that plaque. We'll probably hang it on the wall somewhere here-ish. I don't know. All right. By the way, there's links in the description to this as well as my two giveaways. And hey, I'm going to be at PAX starting tomorrow. So if you're there, PAX East rather, in Boston, come see me. Okay. So we can see the net revenues for Hasbro as a whole are increased by 4% to 1.16 billion. So it's a 4% revenue increase, which is obviously good, especially when that revenue is in the billions of dollars. We can see here the second bullet point called out. Let me zoom in a little bit for the folks on the phone. Wizards of the Coast and Digital Gaming segment revenues up 9%. Up 10% absent the impact of foreign exchange. So we're just dealing with domestic sales here, as from what it reads like to me anyway, but up 9%, which is a positive thing. We can see a handful of different things, and there's a press release where Chris Cox is talking a little bit about what they can expect as far as revenue and profits. He says, I assume the role of Hasbro CEO on February 25th. We began a thorough review of our business with a theme of focus and scale. We are leaning into our strengths and greatest growth opportunities, including in gaming, multi-generational brands, and direct-to-consumer. All right, so we can kind of skip past this. They've got a great portfolio. Here's a little bit about their financial results, and you can scroll down to see the segments, and these are what we were talking about. These are the three segments of Hasbro. Consumer products, Wizards of the Coast and Digital Gaming, and entertainment. That's sort of the three main sections of the company. Wizards of the Coast and Digital Gaming obviously covers things like what's produced by Wizards of the Coast, Dungeons & Dragons, as well as Magic the Gathering, and then Digital Gaming. It doesn't necessarily just mean games made by like D&D and Magic the Gathering games, as far as I can tell. Consumer products, I believe, covers things like action figures, and I believe entertainment covers all other kinds of games, board games, and the like. I could be wrong, but that's just my general interpretation of it. We can see a little bit about the net revenues, operating profit, and the adjusted operating profit for each of the different branches. Again, here's that 9% we saw mentioned earlier. But we can skip again past the numbers to read a little bit further as we go down. So Wizards of the Coast and Digital Gaming segment. Revenues increased 9%. Revenues increased 10%, excluding a negative 2.9 million impact of foreign exchange. Tabletop revenues grew 10%, and digital and licensed games grew 6%. Operating profit of 106.4 million was 40.5% of the revenue, which includes continued significant investments in Wizards of the Coast, such as product development and administrative costs, as well as higher pay and freight costs, partially offset by lower advertising expense versus last year, which featured several digital gaming launches. I don't really know what that was in reference to, but okay. Maybe it was, again, for other systems and not, again, generally D&D related. Increased inventory levels to mitigate potential supply challenges, which is good. And for the full year, we now expect revenue growth at the upper end of the previously communicated growth range of mid-single digits, with a potential to reach low double digits, with adjusted operating profit margin down slightly from the 42.5% in full year 2021, as we continue investing in growing in these valuable brands. Okay, so let's keep going. Here's the brand portfolio performance, less of an important thing. But here we go. Dungeons & Dragons, industry-leading gaming portfolio. Mentions a little bit here about Magic the Gathering and Monopoly grew. And really, it's Monopoly had that much growth, but all right. Talks about, Kamigawa became the best-selling winter set of all time, increasing 28% over last year's set. And Neon Dynasty is the 5th Magic set of all time to generate in excess of 100 million. Pretty cool. Now we have D&D. Okay, revenue grew in both tabletop and digital. Recently announced strategic acquisition of D&D Beyond from Fandom strengthened Hasbro's capabilities in the fast-growing digital tabletop category, delivering a direct relationship with nearly 10 million fans, providing valuable data-driven insights to unlock opportunities for growth in new product development, live services and tools, and opportunity for regional expansion. So there we can see it right out the gate. They're acknowledging the strategic acquisition of D&D Beyond. And it also goes on to say, Magic the Gathering Arena and D&D digital tabletop revenue growth led to this increase in 6% digital sales. And Hasbro gaming revenues, which include franchise brands, grew 5% over year. D&D, Avalon Hill's Hero Quest, and Duel Masters led to this growth. And then we can see end-to-end brand executions, D&D. Strategic investment to advance digital play with D&D Beyond. Again, part of what I put on my bingo card, but what I was also anticipating being some of the announcements tomorrow is I imagine the map rollout, the virtual tabletop or maps in D&D Beyond. I imagine that may be announced tomorrow at the D&D Direct live stream. I don't know if it will be implemented, but we've known that that's been on the roadmap for D&D Beyond for a while, and I'm pretty sure I'm positive they have it. And I don't know, my thoughts are it was strategic in some form. Either D&D Beyond put this together as a use case to show to Wizards of the Coast, hey, look, we have this virtual tabletop, we haven't rolled it out yet, as a sort of feather in the cap to increase the amount of money to buy out D&D Beyond. So they're like, hey, we have this, it's ready to go, we just haven't launched it. Let's increase the amount of money you're going to buy D&D Beyond for. Or potentially, Wizards of the Coast said, yeah, we're not going to allow you to release our maps on your site. Sorry. In an attempt to keep the cost low so that when they buy D&D Beyond, they can turn around and say, hey, look what we did. And then make it look like Wizards of the Coast are the heroes. Executing an end-to-end brand blueprint activation. Now, that's a lot of fancy words, but it sounds like they're going more into this kind of lifestyle brand, and they're looking to push D&D Beyond in a variety of, or D&D rather, in a variety of different avenues. Major theatrical release stated for 2023. Okay, so now we knew that was coming. And then it says scripted television series from Rawson Marshall Thurber, the writer of Red Notice, is in development. AAA video games in development. Now, it says video games, and their AAA, which so was Dark Alliance, so let's not really consider whatever that means. But I guess that means there's going to be new games in development. Robust consumer products launch and significant marketing tie-ins coming. So this could mean, again, weird pop culture crossovers like we saw with Rick and Morty or Stranger Things, where they do other box sets where they tie in with other different products and do like different box sets that way. I assume we're going to get more funky products like we sort of saw with how like Magic the Gathering did K-Swiss shoe crossover, so you can get like Magic the Gathering shoes, and how they like partnered with Spirit Halloween and did a cookbook. I assume we're going to see other funky D&D stuff. And I guess more importantly, for those of us that, that for the visibility and the brand recognition, which is what they seem to be going for, you will likely see more Dungeons and Dragons related things in stores everywhere so that it'll be more present, right? As it stands, you can go to like a Target and pick up Lost Mines of Phandelver or Dragon of Icespire Peak. You can pick up the Essentials Kit or the starter set off the shelf. You can buy Polyhedral official D&D digital dice. You can buy books in all of different variety of stores. So they want to have D&D present in multiple places so that it kind of continues to grow the brand and the recognition of it. And again, treat it more again as a lifestyle choice. Now, and then we can scroll down. You can see they're rolling out some new stuff for My Little Pony here. Entertainment One is delivering approximately 500 minutes of new animated programming. We got some Peppa Pig here. Power Rangers. Okay, what do we got for Power Rangers? First 11 episodes of Season 2 of Dino Fury. They're out on Netflix. That is true. Compelling new content supported with new kid and fan-focused products. Hey, that's kind of cool. Fan-focused as well. Hasbro products for the Marvel portfolio. Supports products to Marvel No Way Home, such as action figures, Star Wars line, HasLab Razor Crest deliveries. All right, coming off a strong 2021, the company has a plan for continued growth in 2022, including low single-digit revenue growth despite the strengthening of the U.S. dollar and potential risk of approximately $100 million in Russia. That's true. I guess, you know, that's obviously part of, that's probably what they were talking about now that I think about it, about the foreign exclusion or whatever they called it up above, where their whatever profits and they would be selling to, and products they'd be selling to Russia, there doesn't seem like they're going to be doing that, or that's why they're calling it a risk of approximately $100 million in Russia. Mid-single digit growth in operating profit to achieve adjusted operating profit margin of 16%, which is above prior guidance, and operating cash flow in the range of $700 to $800 million. Then there's a little bit about dividends if you own Hasbro stock and things of that nature. Yeah, I don't really see too much more of note here. So, all right, that is it. But I thought it was interesting and worth reading through because we can see that they are apparently developing you know, if you were to read video games as plural, now Baldur's Gate 3 could technically be considered one of them. It is in development, and it has been for the past 2 years, but that could also mean new titles in the plans for the future. It could also, the way I read that is it seems like that means they're going to be wholly brand new titles, less crossover stuff. Like, I saw someone joking around on their D&D Direct bingo card putting Drizzt as a skin in Fortnite. It's possible you could put D&D characters in Fortnite, but those kids probably have absolutely no idea who some of these characters are. But that's like a concept, but it seems like it is going to be, and it says AAA, right? So we're not going to be talking about like cell phone games or mobile games. We're talking about like actual full-blown console or PC releases. And again, we kind of knew about the TV show, but again, they branched it there, and this kind of concept of product brand tie-ins and crossovers. So anyway, let me know your thoughts about the Hasbro sales report. Again, I'll have a link to it in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. Did I miss anything of note? Anything you thought was more interesting than I touched on? Let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you all next time. Unless you are at PAX, then I will see you there.